Future-Proof is sponsored by Equipping Young Adults for Life, inspiring student resilience, championing hope. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me, Sarah Hopwood, as I continue these business television programmes that are also there for serving education as well. And Future-Proof is all about finding inspiration, bringing people into the studio who can share stories and inspire you, but also to incorporate, if you like, some learning, teaching, or even revision or endorsement of what you already know, or even create a question or an argument in your mind as to what you're watching and hearing and what you think about it and how it relates to you, your life, what you're dealing with, either what your parents are dealing with or indeed what your children are dealing with. So the scope is quite wide, and that is on purpose, because as we enter new normals, it's new beginnings for many businesses are having to pivot rather than persist. In other words, moving their ladder to another wall and maybe putting up against that wall and finding slightly new ways of thinking and doing things. We've seen it from now anticipation that the City of London, the hustle and bustle, permissions to go back into the office is just not going to happen. It's going to possibly be like a ghost town. Many of our clients are saying that. It's not that they're necessarily laying people off or going into the redundancy route, but many are downsizing from their office space. They're rethinking how they're doing things. They're looking at those who are working well at home, those who are struggling to work at home, and particularly the younger generation. Before now, I've done many talks on Gen Y, but now the focus is on Gen X. And many, not all, but many are struggling for different reasons. Perhaps, the setup at home does not allow itself for even a laptop to sit on a desk somewhere. Some people are sitting on their beds with the laptops on their laps. But also the socialising, where they perhaps enjoyed freedoms early on because you can, with flexible working, maybe get on and do something else whilst you're doing this and work late into the evening. But many are really missing the office environment. So business owners are having to think differently. They're accommodating good staff. They are looking at them and thinking, how can I help? How can I accommodate you? But also they are revisiting, if you like, the capabilities on the job descriptions, and the capabilities of course have changed. The big thing that features on capabilities is flexibility. It's about seamlessly working so that people are easy to fit in, easy to get on with. Are you high maintenance or low maintenance as a prospective member of staff? Or actually, to put it much higher up the boardroom now, as a partner, as a director of a business, are you easy or high or low maintenance? And all these considerations are coming into place. Stakeholders are looking much more closely at their responsibilities and the weights that they are carrying, and some are looking to have more influence as to what is going on. So the bottom line is there's an awful lot of flexibility, there's a lot of change. There are many people who are feeling insecure, or they might feel quite secure, but they're still very uncertain of what the future holds. And with all of those emotions, all of those challenges, comes the word stress. And I had Andrew in the studio a few programmes back, and he was talking about, well, we addressed certainly levels of stress in schools for students. I mean, going in with masks now and rethinking, very excited about seeing their comrades, if you like, their peer groups, but also there is some fear and uncertainty in there, which is causing stress. And Andrew was talking about changing our perspective. And I absolutely love that. And I want to hopefully share some of the elements of stress and also hopefully open up ways that possibly you could change perspective on stress that you might be suffering. I'm drawing from notes. We run workshops, and the notes here are managing stress. And actually I did this for a law firm, and I've also done it for education, and it's also leading to effective decision making. So what are the golden rules? The first thing is stress. As human beings, we want it and we need it to different levels, and some thrive on stress and others will literally run miles from any sense of stress. So the first thing I want to say is to say that stress is bad for us as a belief system is fundamentally wrong. If we have no stress whatsoever, if everything is linear, settled, and there's no anxiety, there's no tension, there's no worry, if we really do have absolutely, if you like, no invading energies in our mental space, then 9 times out of 10 we will do something to sabotage that environment, to kick in something that does incorporate some level of stress. So it's something like causing an argument, to being antagonistic, to maybe self-criticizing yourself, anything that creates extra energy. And usually it's like a negative energy, and very, very often that pulls out actually a positive response, particularly if obviously the negative energy is against something that is wrong, creating obviously an environment for change to turn the wrong into good. So if you think of the P-off factor, if we become P-offed, that can be enough energy where we say, I've had enough of this, I am going to now do something differently. And you can just do it for yourself, or indeed you can do it for other people. So the first thing I'd like to say is stress per se, stress on its own is not a bad thing. As human beings, if we don't have any levels of stress whatsoever in our lives, we will do something to sabotage that environment to create some energy somewhere, which some might call stress. So it's a bit like walking into a cardiac ward. And, you know, when you watch the cardiac monitors, we can see the peaks and troughs. And that's, as human beings, generally speaking, how we like to operate. If that's not happening and it's a flat line, then we, as I say, in a stress environment will do something to create some energy to kick it back up into the peaks and troughs. And so what we need to do is a number of things. The first thing is we need to make sure that the peaks and the troughs are not always extreme. So it's like a swinging pendulum. And I always said, when I learned about emotionally intelligent thinking, it stopped me swinging off of walls, if you like, from a like a pendulum movement. Ooh, I'm happy. Ooh, I'm sad. And it was kind of extremes. And what my learning helped me do was centre better. So yes, I still sway, if you like a pendulum, but I don't do this extreme swaying, which is, I've used the expression before, it's like bouncing off of walls, and you don't want to do that. So emotionally intelligent thinking will help you stop bouncing off of walls. So, but in there, we are all managing stress. And in the second half, I'm going to take you through all the different stages of stress and what they look like. But to go into the break, I want to share a story that last year, and some of you may know that I actually run choirs on cruise ships, and the last day in the Caribbean, I broke my foot. So we flew back. I didn't want to go and see anybody medical. I didn't want to be signed off. I was frightened. So I had, luckily, because I'm a former nurse, I knew what I was doing to some degree. So I had my foot safe and secure. I got on the plane and I flew back. We happened to land back in December when there were floods on the south coast, there were landslides, there were no trains, no taxis. Our brother-in-law couldn't come up and collect us. and there was Paul with a trolley with suitcases, 3 weeks worth, if you like, our suitcases on a trolley, and I was in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk. So luckily we were the first plane into Gatwick, which meant, number one, I got a wheelchair, and number two, we got a designated, if you like, member of staff to help us. Our stress levels were very, very high, and we had to choose what we got excited about and what we kind of, you like, let go, because very often in stress we overreact to the small things. Oh my gosh, you spilt some terrible milk, and yet we underreact to the big things, which is possibly my car's got a flat tire, I can't get home. And so we had to, if you like, practice what we preached. We had to think very, very smartly so that we stayed calm. Main thing, we made smart, good decisions, and that we got ourselves home safely. And I'll tell you in the second half exactly what happened there. I have to say the staff at Gatwick Airport were utterly amazing. So do join me in just a moment.